Hello! As society develops, people's needs also increase. In the past, the essential needs were just to have enough food and clothing, but now it has become about eating well and dressing nicely. Additionally, advances in social science and technology have driven people to flock to big cities in search of opportunities to improve their lives. Along with these needs, means of transportation have also evolved from bicycles and motorcycles to high-speed trains. However, along with the conveniences, these advancements sometimes come with hidden risks that can lead to unfortunate incidents. Let's turn to Japan, one of the countries renowned for this type of transportation and where today's story begins. The story takes place in a city in Tokyo, located in the center of Japan's Kanto Plain. It comprises areas such as Tokyo, Kanagawa, Chiba, and Saitama, forming one of the largest metropolitan areas in Tokyo with a population of up to 38 million people, about 1/3 of Japan's population. This is the most densely populated area, and Tokyo has an extremely developed rail transportation system to meet the travel needs of most residents. The common types of transportation here include 4 categories: JR, Tokyo Metro, Toei Subway, and private railways. JR stands for Japan Railways, which is also one of the largest specialist corporations in the land of the rising sun. Previously, this company was famous as the national pride of the country, but due to ineffective operations, the Japanese government privatized it in 1987, dividing it into 6 passenger JR companies and 1 freight JR company, all operating independently without direct relations. For example, the JR rail system in Tokyo mainly belongs to JR East. A famous line is the JR Yamanote line, which runs through central Tokyo. Besides JR, Tokyo also has 13 subway lines, 9 of which belong to Tokyo Metro, and the remaining 4 belong to Toei Subway. Due to belonging to different companies, the ticket prices and services also have slight differences. The private railways are operated by private enterprises, mostly connecting the city center with suburban areas. Although Tokyo's transportation system is somewhat complicated, local residents only need to glance at the colors or designs of the trains to recognize the line. The Japanese call these rail trains denkisha, or electric trains. Our main character, Kobayashi Satoru, born in 1975, has a father, Kobayashi Kunisaburo, who works at a bank, and a mother, Sakaba Umeko, who is a homemaker. This family of 3 lives in Kasukabe City, Saitama Prefecture. Satoru, the eldest son, is diligent and serious by nature, currently studying law at Rikyo University, a leading private Christian university located in the Ikebukuro area of Tokyo, a bustling part of the city. Alongside Ginza, Shinjuku, and Asakusa, Ikebukuro is one of the lively areas in Tokyo. Recently, many films and TV shows have chosen Ikebukuro as their setting, attracting the attention of young people who pursue fashionable styles. Ikebukuro is divided into 2 areas, East and West. The East area has many large shopping centers and fashion stores, while the West area is frequently populated by students, creating a clear contrast to the vibrant atmosphere in the East and emitting a cultural vibe. In 1996, when Satoru was 21 and about to graduate from university, after completing his coursework, he returned to his hometown in Kasukabe, Saitama Prefecture. He received a notice to return to school to participate in an activity. However, he could not have anticipated that this would be a mistake. On April 11, 1996, specifically a Thursday, Rikyo University organized a job seminar for final year students. Early that morning, Satoru took the JR train from his hometown in Saitama back to Tokyo, got off at Ikebukuro Station, and headed to the university to attend the seminar. There, he coincidentally met 2 close friends he hadn't contacted in a long time. They arranged to have dinner together that evening. At 7 p.m., the 3 of them went to a bar in Ikebukuro to enjoy dinner and discuss their post-graduation plans and hopes for a brighter future. After a satisfying meal, the 3 went to a karaoke bar in Ikebukuro to have some fun. Before they knew it, it was already 11 p.m., and the 3 of them felt it was late and needed to catch the last train home. Looking at the map, you can see they were at Ikebukuro Station. Satoru's family was in Kasukabe, Saitama Prefecture. One friend lived in Zushi, Kanagawa Prefecture, and the other lived in Toda, Saitama. They were headed in 3 different directions. At 11:30 p.m., Satoru and his fellow Saitama friend arrived at the JR station. There were still a few people there, and the last train on the Senmoki line, which Satoru needed to take home, was about to depart, so he was a bit rushed. In his haste, he accidentally bumped into a strange man. This man was wearing a black suit, a bit overweight, and seemed unsteady on his feet, as if he had just been drinking. Collisions in public places are common and generally overlooked. However, this time was different. After colliding with Satoru, the man became very irritated. He approached, grabbed Satoru's shirt, and angrily asked why he had bumped into him. Despite feeling that the man was being somewhat rude, Satoru decided to be patient. He quickly bowed and apologized to the man, explaining that he was in a hurry to catch the last train home. Satoru bowed again and hurried away, heading for the platform. At this moment, a crowd of over 100 people had gathered, creating a somewhat chaotic scene. The last train finally arrived, but the man in the black suit was not done. Angrily, he chased after Satoru, grabbed his collar in front of the crowd, and began to insult him. Humiliated, Satoru became very angry. With the fiery temper of youth, he started yelling back at the man. Some passengers who witnessed the escalating situation left, but about 30 people stayed to watch. Among them, a few people saw that things were getting out of hand and shouted for them to stop, trying to defuse the situation. Seeing people intervening, Satoru stopped arguing with the man in the suit. He wanted to resolve things rationally and talk it out. However, the man responded by delivering a powerful slap to Satoru's face, so hard that Satoru couldn't stay on his feet and fell to the ground. The blow directly affected his body's balance center, the cerebellum. After being knocked down, although still conscious, Satoru couldn't stand up. Near the tracks, there was a yellow safety line meant to warn and guide people, with a raised section. Unfortunately, when he fell, Satoru's head hit these hard parts, causing his body to convulse continuously, and he lost consciousness. As the loudspeaker announced the arrival of the Senmoku line's last train of the day, it slowly pulled into the station. Missing this train would mean waiting until the next day. Despite seeing Satoru in such a state, no one wanted to intervene. The crowd simply pushed and shoved their way onto the train, including the man in the black suit. A passenger on the train reminded the man to stay and wait for the police, but he angrily glared and told the passenger to mind his own business. The passenger, finding the man too rude, decided to ignore him and move to another car. To avoid trouble, as the train slowly departed, a few stragglers on the platform who missed the train saw Satoru lying unconscious but paid no mind, thinking it wasn't their problem. After quite some time, a station staff member finally discovered him and immediately called for an ambulance. When the ambulance arrived, there were only Satoru and a kind elderly woman who helped him onto the vehicle, as he was too unsteady to stand. Satoru kept saying he wanted to go home. However, once admitted to the hospital, his condition began to deteriorate, and he was transferred to a better hospital for surgery. Unfortunately, death's door had already opened, and there was no saving him. Satoru tragically passed away early the next morning. 5 days after the incident, the police intervened and began investigating the case. They believed that at the JR station entrance that day, a man in a black suit had somehow caused Satoru's tragic death. But since the man had no intent to kill, the incident was initially considered involuntary manslaughter pending further investigation. The police first needed to identify the man in the suit. At least 30 witnesses had seen the incident at the JR station that night. The police managed to find 9 of them, and based on their descriptions, the man was estimated to be between 24 and 38 years old, about 170 to 180 centimeters tall, slightly overweight with a double chin and 3 scars on his right eye. The police drew a composite sketch of the suspect based on these descriptions and released it widely, hoping to find more leads. According to witness reports, The man in the suit had boarded the Yamanote line at the JR station and got off at Ikebukuro station after about half an hour. He might have left the station or transferred to another line. Some said they saw him at Ueno station, then getting off at Chiba station, but after that, there was no trace of him. Notably, at that time, security cameras were not common in Japanese train stations, so there were no images or recordings. The investigation relied entirely on witness descriptions, which inevitably hampered progress. After Satoru's death, his father was devastated. He shared that Satoru had been a gentle person since childhood, never having conflicts with anyone. He believed his son wasn't the type to start trouble and was certain that the man in the suit must have provoked him. Mr. Kunisaburo took a long leave from work to investigate his son's case himself. He printed and distributed 200,000 flyers with the suspect's sketch, handing them out daily at the JR station and nearby stations, hoping to find the heartless man. At Platform 7, 8 of the JR station, a large poster with the suspect's sketch was put up. Mr. Kunisaburo also offered a 2 million JPY reward for any useful information, later increasing it to 10 million JPY. His tireless efforts eventually caught the attention of the press. 1 month after the incident, Mr. Kunisaburo was handing out flyers at JR Adachiku Station in Tokuyama, Tokyo, when he suddenly spotted a man matching the suspect's description. 2 housewives passing by were discussing the scars on the man's face. Through their conversation, Mr. Kunisaburo confirmed it was indeed the man he was looking for. To avoid alerting him, he decided to follow the man and find out where he lived before involving the police. Mr. Kunisaburo discreetly tailed the man, who went to a gaming center. Observing from a distance, Mr. Kunisaburo saw the man had 3 noticeable scars on his face, just as described. At 10 p.m., the man left the gaming center and headed to a phone booth. Nearby, Mr. Kunisaburo overheard him sharply saying, "You idiot! You know it now, right?" After the call, the man boarded a train at Kitasenju Station and traveled to Choshi Station in Chiba Prefecture. A witness had previously seen him at Toride Station, making Mr. Kunisaburo certain that this was the man in the suit. After getting off the train, the man bought a beer from a vending machine and quickly downed it, indicating he was accustomed to drinking. At that moment, another train arrived, and in the crowded platform, Mr. Kunisaburo lost sight of him. The man in the suit disappeared into the sea of people. At that time, stations didn't have IC cards yet and still used paper tickets. From a distance, Mr. Kunisaburo could see the man using a commuter pass, which was easily distinguishable from a regular ticket. This indicated that the man frequently traveled on JR trains and might live nearby. During the following week, Mr. Kunisaburo continued to closely observe the man's every move. Notably, in March 1995, the sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway occurred, resulting in 10 deaths and over 6,000 injuries. To prevent similar incidents, the police installed surveillance cameras in all train stations, including JR stations. Kunisaburo immediately provided the clues he had gathered to the police, hoping they could check the cameras. However, at that time, all camera footage was recorded on a tape that only stored 1 day's worth of footage. Once the tape was full, the previous footage would be overwritten and irretrievable. Thus, his valuable clues were once again lost. In the following period, some witnesses provided information to the police. One person claimed to have seen a man resembling the suspect's description in the Shibuya area of Tokyo, drinking with a group of people who appeared to be students. Following this lead, Mr. Kunisaburo posted flyers at nearby universities, hoping the students could provide more information. Satoru was a 4th-year student, so the schools did not prohibit this. On the night of the incident, Satoru was taken to the hospital by ambulance. At the time, the hospital mistakenly believed his injuries were not serious, leading to a delay in treatment that indirectly caused his unnecessary death. A father's efforts. After Satoru's death, the second hospital blamed the ambulance service for not taking the patient to them initially. Kunisaburo believed there was a misdiagnosis and filed a civil lawsuit seeking compensation from the first hospital. Arguing that the hospital had made a mistake, Kunisaburo was awarded 65 million JPY in compensation. By 2002, 6 years had passed since the incident. According to Japanese criminal law at the time, the statute of limitations for involuntary manslaughter was a mere 7 years. With little time left, Kunisaburo grew increasingly anxious, feeling that this allowed criminals to escape justice. He printed more posters and placed them in stations to raise awareness about the case. He gathered 35,000 public signatures and submitted them to the Ministry of Justice, hoping to extend the statute of limitations for the case. In a press interview, Kunisaburo declared that he would never forget his son and would continue this fight to the end. In July 2003, the Ministry of Justice reviewed and reclassified the case from involuntary manslaughter to intentional murder. Consequently, the statute of limitations was extended from 7 years to 15 years. The police reopened the investigation under public pressure, but unfortunately, they found no new leads, leaving the case unresolved. Another 7 years passed, marking 14 years since the incident. In April 2010, with only 1 year remaining before the 15-year statute of limitations expired, Japan amended its criminal procedure law, abolishing the 15-year statute of limitations for serious criminal cases. This brought new hope to the victim's family, meaning that even after 15 years, if the suspect were caught, he would still face legal punishment. The conclusion of the case. Mr. Kunisaburo, hearing this, did not feel any joy. Instead, he made a decision that no one could understand. In April 2012, Kunisaburo went to the Japanese police department and voluntarily requested the cessation of the investigation into the case. He stated that if the law could be changed so easily, people's sense of legal compliance would be undermined. After the incident, Kunisaburo joined an association of victims' families. This association believed that applying the new law to this case would violate the principle of non-retroactivity in modern criminal law. This means that cases before 2010 should still adhere to the old 15-year statute of limitations, which had already expired. Kunisaburo also had another reason for this action. He realized that police resources were limited and there were countless other cases that needed solving. Upon reflection, he considered his son's case a stagnant one with a faint hope of resolution. He thought the police should focus their efforts on more significant cases rather than let criminals roam free. In an interview, Kunisaburo shared that despite the large crowd at the scene, the perpetrator still managed to escape. Knowing that there were over 120 witnesses, he felt as if there was no one there at all. Kunisaburo's words echoed with helplessness and disappointment. Satoru, once a kind and promising young man, had the misfortune of encountering a thug in a suit. If those around had not been so indifferent and cold, if just a few had intervened, perhaps Satoru would not have had to endure such pain. But it is all conjecture. This indifference has become ingrained in Japanese culture. Despite being a truly great father, Kunisaburo's efforts ultimately became a tragic lesson on the lack of compassion in Japan. This is indeed a sorrowful case, where indifference and selfishness led to a person's death. The criminal is to blame, but so too are the bystanders. Kunisaburo's relentless efforts may not have shaken the heavens, but they certainly highlighted the need for greater empathy. What do you think about this case? If there were a verdict, what should it be for the man in the suit? Is he guilty, or is the crowd more to blame? It's all your personal perspective. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below for further discussion. If possible, like the video and subscribe to our channel for support. For now, goodbye and see you in the next case.